Virtual meeting on academia post-corona. We have our colleague from the Middle East Technical University. She's the Vice Dean from Turkey.
Thank you for including me. It looks like, in very different countries, we are facing some similar issues. And, since this pandemic, started, I've been basically noticing several things, and I'm going to talk about them. And one is, for example, there is there's a Facebook page that's a pandemic pedagogy page. So there, all these educators are sharing their this problems that they're experiencing, which being all of a sudden means that this is just some scholars, as some scholars call it, this is just more emergency remote teaching. So we have to first, I think, remember that, because if we don't, that kind of could lead us somewhere else that we may not want to go yet, because I still find a lot of value in face-to-face education. Yes, definitely, it should be supported by technology, but, I don't think it would be a good idea to give up on assuming, so this is the starting point, now we are switching to online, which I think is a very problematic approach. And there are some courses you couldn't take online, as the scholar from Jordan stated. A lot of our faculty members are experiencing this in different areas and in the field of education too, because we provide teacher education, and they have to do practice. And so fourth grade students were very concerned, are still concerned. And when we did a survey to identify their concerns, so graduation was a big concern for them, and how they were going to be graded on their practice courses for teaching. So those were some things that came up in terms of, educational issues. So definitely this should not be interpreted as a way to take education entirely online. I think that is not something the world is ready for, particularly due to the access issue. If we consider the digital divide, where only 50% of the people in the world have access to internet, this is one major issue. And, in our university, we have some students who are now living in their families' homes in villages where they cannot get internet. So, there is a big access issue that basically showed itself through this pandemic. And this is something that we have to, as a community of education, have to address, I think. Another thing, for the Turkish context at least, that this pandemic showed us, is that crisis management is not something that we are good at, and that this is something we have to pay attention to, both in practice and in terms of research as well. Crisis management, decision-making in crisis situations. I think these are things that we have to start working on them soon, because it looks like, we are now really in the 21st century. Specific to Turkey, of course, we have a higher education council, and we have a very centralized education system. So sometimes that means we have to deal with difficulties that come from that. a lot of that, and that means that universities cannot necessarily, you know, make decisions on their own, and they have to, you know, basically do, you know, what's told by the Higher Education Council. So we cannot just decide on our own that we are going to take this kind of an approach or another kind of an approach. You know, there are mandates that come from the Higher Education Council, and then we have to take them and adapt them to our university's realities and go from there. So, you know, for, you know, our reality is this, that unfortunately, we are not able to have as much impact on the policy as we would like, even if we do the research and, you know, show the problems. So, and, you know, the pandemic was also, has also been showing us, you know, that, you know, science has to be the guide. If not, then we are gonna, probably not gonna be able to effectively deal with the pandemic. You know, if we ignore the scientists' suggestions, and sometimes that happens, that would get us into big trouble. So once again, the pandemic reminds us of the importance of science and scientific research, and maybe it will also be a wake-up call for us to, instead of focusing on quantity, like our friend mentioned from Palestine, instead of focusing on quantity in terms of publications and research, you know, getting at the real work of research and take the time to come up with high quality work, actually. So that was the other thing. These are just some thoughts that I've been kind of considering, and that's basically all for now from me. Thank you.
Raja Giryes from Tel Aviv University. So Raja, are you with us?
So I'm an assistant professor at Tel Aviv University. I am working in the area of artificial intelligence. And I will talk a bit about how we treated the recent situation at Tel Aviv University and other universities here. So mainly all the teaching here moved to online. So we do all teaching now through Zoom or through other online teaching. And one of the main concerns here by faculty members is how to help minorities that don't have a good internet connection. Many times in rural areas, the internet connection is not as good as in the main cities. So this is a challenge that we are trying to think of.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is to try to think how a university can have an impact, as Dr. Walid mentioned, how it can have an impact beyond publishing papers. So the president of the university opened the Slack channel where people from different disciplines can communicate and try to write some documents that can be sent to decision makers in a way that will help to change the decision makings, to understand better the coronavirus. One of the challenges in Corona is that there are lots of wrong information going around on the web. So if researchers can gather all the information and then summarize it in a short document which is intelligible, it can help decision makers to make better decisions because it will filter out many misinformation that is going out there. And so there are some letters that are sent out to decision makers, some studies that try to see how what is the impact in the social level, in the medical level, in stress, inside families. So we know that now there is the economic problem that is beyond the coronavirus and might be higher than the pandemic itself. So the question is how you can treat the day after also. one last thing that is done here, one of the other institutes here made a questionnaire that they sent to people, and over 100,000 people answered this questionnaire. And using techniques of big data, they were able to predict where the next infection will happen. So they had a questionnaire that they sent to people. People fill the questionnaire. So the questionnaire asks how people feel, how are their neighbors, so on and so forth. And it helped to predict where the next break happens without doing any medical test, without anything, just asking anonymously people where they live and how they feel. And I think this is something that can be very helpful, especially in places where you don't have lots of medical tests, to be able to predict where is the next place that the pandemic will strike. So this is my perspective, and thank you very much.
I would like to give the word now for a friend of us from Serbia, Dragan. Are you there?
I'd like to express my gratitude to participating at this meeting and to give a strong support for this initiative. The same as in the other countries, COVID-19 has challenged not only educational process, but also culture, economy, and socio-political life in Serbia. At the Faculty of Contemporary Arts, the first question we have asked ourselves was how to continue our educational activities, what platform we can use, how to keep our students engaged, how to adapt to new circumstances. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we had started to sketch our response to the new challenges arose. The major question were how to keep a cultural life alive. What are our new responsibilities? What we can do to contribute to the society. Current social circumstances force our need not just to rethink sustainable economical development, but also to reimagine a new cultural space that can encourage community members to overcome old prejudice and to find their vision to a better world. The post-COVID world will not be the same, so we have to act to define our future. One of our acting mechanisms is to motivate researchers, students, and public to come together to recreate, reconstruct, and to reform cultural space through compassion and mutual understanding. Schools, public institutions, and media, by supporting development of competitive individuals, have marginalized an idea of social context based on compassionate connectivity. Lack of vision how to create a better society, as much as a lack of beliefs in ability to make changes, keep community members out of struggle for more influential position and at the end for more democratic society. So we would like to see art as a powerful force able to bring visions to local community members and to initiate their involvement in social reconstruction. Different art projects can inspire local community members to build stronger connections between them and help them to define visions of a better society. Cooperation in artistic work can gather community members and inspire them to involve in a political decision-making process. It also can improve their ability to state a program of social development in a more democratic, more inclusive manner. Local initiatives can be the driving force in creating translocal movements. And we like to consider the role of art and higher education institutions as a crucial in initiating social actions which are able to reconstruct context on a global level to change perception of development and to inspire people to be rather cooperative than competitive. Art and education should motivate people to reconstruct the society so it can better serve the interests of all groups, and to create a culture which not only merge different needs, but also support its understanding. Our humanistic task is to develop education for mutual understanding and support. These days, many people are afraid, but some kind of consolation in this and similar situation in the future can be an idea of a global community that leaves no one alone and unprotected. We have to keep in mind that we all share this world, as well as we share our fears, challenges, and our dreams. And thank you for your attention.
I was looking around and I saw this initiative at the Central European University in Budapest, and they're very active there, and they are planning to do something on alternative academia. So I allowed myself to invite a PhD researcher, a student from Sweden, but now he is at the university, to share with us briefly. I need to be tight and ask him to just go for 1 minute, 1.5 minutes at max.
Thanks, Sami, for the invitation and giving us this opportunity. So this alternative academia idea started with some of our dissatisfaction with certain aspects of academia. Started talking with my colleague Jacqueline Dufalo, who's also present here. And so what are the dissatisfactions, such as, like, we talked about this publish and perish mentality. You know, there are the issues with grants and certain inequalities within academia. And but what we do or what we hear is mostly complaints, right? The critics. So we wanted to focus on a bit more constructive than talking about, you know, how can we realize or what. First, like, how do we envision the future of academia, and then how can we realize it, right? How can we overcome, like, these issues? What are our capacities? For instance, we're talking about the measurement of success based on publications, but if not that, then, you know, what can we do? Or entrance to the job market, it's highly competitive, but then how can we overcome that? Does it mean that we need to accept, like, less PhD students and, you know, reduce the numbers? It all comes, you know, with its baggage. And so we need to talk, we wanted to, you know, talk about this, like, constructive issues and our capacities. But of course, these are all still, like, working within the hegemonic structure. And we can also think about, right, out of the box. For instance, in countries like Turkey and Hungary, where there is governmental pressure, we've seen really cool initiatives such as, like, street academies and open universities, you know, where people, the scholars were teaching basically on the street. So there was more interaction with the community, and it was a way to overcome the government's pressure. And why not, you know, think about it or, like, build on it. So basically, everyone has a different issues and vision for the future of the academia. And we thought the first step, the initial step, should come together and talk about it, and then talk about how we can realize them. But then this talk started before all the corona pandemic. And now actually the pandemic revealed more problems within academia, or it made certain things worse, but also it revealed it. Now we can see it more clearly. And it already started a talk about the future of academia. So we want to jump on this talk and not only talk about, you know, technical aspects such as, you know, how to teach online, but more fundamental issues, and use this opportunity to build like a less hierarchical and less exploitative academia that also gives more to the community.